Are you thinking about moving to the Seattle area? Today I have a simple 5-step process that is going to make it easy for you to decide exactly what you need to do next. When you have an overwhelming project, you need to break it down into small steps, and that's what we're doing here on this video today. Let's go. So if this is your first time on my channel, I am so glad you're here. This is Emily Cressey. I am a local Seattle native here to help guide you through the process of relocating to the Seattle, Bellevue, Everett, Tacoma area. Now, I grew up here. I know a lot about it, but I'm always open to other opinions. So if you're watching this and you disagree with me, or if you just have a question, make sure you let me know in the comments. I love looking at those. While you're here, make sure you subscribe. We're releasing new videos every week. That's the goal. So don't want to miss anything that we have coming up, as well as checking out the library of video tours and things where we drive around and look at different parts of town. So in this video, the focus is going to be on 5 steps to make it easy to move to Seattle. And with no further ado, we're going to jump right in. So the first thing that you need to do with any move is to think about your budget. Now, that's kind of the part of the process that is not very flexible. You make what you make. Now, I say that, but depending on your job, that may not be entirely true. If you're coming in working for Amazon or Google or one of these big tech companies, you may find that a lot of your compensation comes in the form of stock. You may have a base salary, let's say, of $100,000, and then you have hiring bonuses and stock grants and things that will be vesting, and they may make up a very significant part of your salary after time or your income. You might find that you're getting $200,000, $300,000 a year, and only part of that is based on your base salary and part of that is based on your stock. Now, whatever they tell you when they hire you, take that with a grain of salt because stock values can go up and down. I don't want you to get in a situation where you are expecting to make a lot of money at the stock market tanks and now you're making much less. So be conservative when you look at your budget and make sure that it's something that's sustainable. A good rule of thumb is to plan on having about 1/3 of your income going toward your house payment. So if you're making $100,000 a year, you can have $33,000 a year going toward your house payment. If you're making $10,000 a month, you can have, $3,000 or $4,000 a month going toward your house payment. That's the same type of numbers that your lender is going to look at when they're pre-qualifying you for a mortgage. So just keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking about how much you want to pay for your house. And remember, don't forget to include things, not only your mortgage payment, but you're going to have your taxes for property tax and insurance as well. I use about 1% as a rule of thumb. So if you have $1 million house, you're going to be paying $10,000 a year in taxes. That's kind of a good way to estimate your taxes. And your homeowner's insurance will depend on a lot of things like your deductibles, your location, are you far or near from the fire station? But I would say, $1,000 to $2,000 a year is a good estimate for that as well. If you end up living in a condo or a townhome, make sure you add in a little bit to the budget for those monthly payments typically. And for a condo or a townhome where they're doing all of that exterior maintenance for you, you should probably plan to budget about $300 to $500 per month. I've certainly seen ones that are higher, especially if they have a pool, tennis courts, or it's an older building with a lot of deferred maintenance. I've seen some that are lower, but typically that's just if it's a new build and it's going to get ratcheted up in the future, or if it's like a home where you do your own roof and siding and they're just maintaining a park or maintaining a lighted sign in the front and that type of thing. So figure out what you're comfortable with, then add to it because real estate here is really expensive, and find out what your maximum is because I don't want you to go into a position where you're overstretched. That being said, most people find that if they're looking in a price band, they start out wanting to look at the lowest part, like let's get something cheap, let's stay within our budget, and they often will stretch toward the highest part of their price range once they see how much more they can get for their money if they are willing to go up. Now we're going to go to step 2, which is thinking about what kind of house you want to buy. When I say house, I mean property. Where are you going to live? The typical things that people choose from are condo, townhouse, and single family home. Most people say that they would prefer to find a single family home, but if they need to, they can back down into a townhouse or condo for budgetary reasons. That's not the case for everybody. So we have single family house, townhouse, and condo. Some people actually do prefer the condo lifestyle, especially if they travel a lot. They want close neighbors to be there to give them a sense of security, watching over the property, maintaining the yard and exterior maintenance of the home. All of that outside envelope type stuff is handled by the homeowners association when you live in a condo. And some condos also have shared community activities areas like a weight room, an event center where you could come and host a large meal or birthday party if you wanted to. Some have a swimming pool, hot tub, sauna, tennis courts. Because real estate is so expensive, most developments don't have those things, but they are available. And if that's an important part of how you see your lifestyle shaping up, we can certainly find something like that to fit you. Townhouses are very common. They're kind of the vertical. I would say there's a difference between what I would call a legal townhouse and an architectural townhouse. So architecturally, a townhouse is a typically vertical 2 or 3 story building which attached to others. You might think of it as a duplex or a triplex or quadplex building, something like that. And we have had buildings like that made with no homeowners association involved. So my sister, for example, lives in an architectural duplex, and she and her neighbor share walls. It's very thick, well built. They never hear each other, but they do share walls, and they do have agreements in place that were deeded with the property as far as how the landscaping needs to be maintained and that type of a thing. It can be a challenge in this situation with no homeowners association involved to handle things like, what if we need to replace the roof? What if my side has a leaking roof and your side doesn't? Are we going to replace everybody's roof? Am I going to pay to replace mine and your half is not replaced? Like, how do those things get negotiated? Same with exterior painting and driveway maintenance. So that can become a little bit of a dicey situation when it comes to negotiating the exterior maintenance, because there's no pre-written, pre-recorded documentation for that. So it's just something to be cautious of. If you're in a legal townhouse where there is community rules, typically you're going to be paying dues, but you're also going to be having some sort of oversight body to make the decisions, make the budget, and have those things happen. Be aware that if you are in a condo or townhouse that seems to have a particularly low homeowners association payment each month, they may find that they are not saving enough money to actually pay for the roof. So what Washington State has required is for the condos and townhomes to do what's called a reserve study. They come in, they have kind of a contracting firm say, okay, this type of roof should last for 20 years. When you need to be replacing it, it's going to cost this much money. With inflation, we expect that to be a larger amount. And they have these little formulas that they run through for the roof, the parking lot, the fencing, anything that they might be in charge of replacing from time to time. And the idea is to say, like, wow, we need to have $1 million in the bank in the next 20 years. Are the savings rate that we have from our monthly dues going to bring us to that level? And so the idea is to help stave off problems where I just talked with a gentleman, and a lot of people in his condo were selling because the condo was actually built on a pier out over the water on Lake Washington. And so they needed to reinforce and do some construction on this pier. That was essentially the foundation of their entire building, not optional. And so they had to get this done, but it was very expensive. And they assessed a $70,000 assessment, which is a bill against all of the homeowners because they needed to pay their share of this probably, several $100,000, $1 million plus pier renovation project on the condo building. So people don't like that. They don't want to get a surprise $70,000 bill in the mail. And so that's why it's important to have a good budget, good reserves, well-maintained building, and a sign that things are trucking along nicely. we're not in a position where, things are falling apart and we're going to have to rebuild them after some period of time. So just good to be aware of when you have the condo and townhouse situation. There are a lot of pluses with having the maintenance handled, but we do need to make sure that there's money in the bank. Of course, there's always the unforeseen problem like a pipe in the driveway bursts or something like that. But that could happen in a homeowner situation too. So think about that. Townhouse, single family house. We also have a couple of other options. So one would be more like a farm or acreage type of property, equestrian property, agricultural property, that type of a thing that is available. It's a little bit more out in the boonies, but it is available. And sometimes they even have programs in place like tax rebates. I worked with a family in Sultan that was selling a house, and they had paid less in taxes because they kept the property working as an operational farm, selling eggs from their chickens, honey from the bees, rabbit meat, that type of a thing. They had to sell about $1,000 a year worth of farm product in order to get a $7,000 a year rebate on their taxes. So that was great. It was transferable to the next buyer, but if the next buyer did not keep up that business, they had to pay some back taxes on the property. So there can be some tricky issues with that. It's just good to know what the plans are, what the options are. And we also have raw land available if you want to build something. We do have mobile homes. Some people on the budget end of the spectrum are looking to buy a mobile home. If you buy it in a park, you'll pay $100,000 or $200,000, maybe less, for the mobile home, depending on the age. It may or may not be financeable, depending on the age. And so you'll buy that, and then in addition to making whatever mortgage payment you would have to make, you have to pay the lot rent as well. So $700 or $800 a month to rent your parking space for your mobile home. But it does turn out to be still a less expensive alternative as far as an affordable housing option in the area. And then we have houseboats. Some people buy a boat. They rent a spot in the marina to park that on Lake Union or Lake Washington. And that they live in the boat, live in the sailboat. So there are lots of things to be aware of, but I think the main ones I mentioned and spent a little more time on, that's where 95% of my business as a real estate agent comes. So we'll probably plan on focusing there. It's just kind of fun to let you know other options are available too. Section 3 is to decide on the type of neighborhood that you want to live in. So many people focus so much on the house that they don't think about what's going on outside in their community. Sometimes something as simple as walkable sidewalks where you can go for a jog or take your dog or your kids on the bicycle. Sometimes something as a Saturday morning coffee shop where I can hang out, meet other people, kind of get to know the area, the neighbors in the area. Sometimes that really makes your day. Some people want to be by the water. They have a boat. They want to take the boat down in the truck, put it in the boat launch and go fishing. All sorts of different things may influence your experience and your enjoyment of the area. Is it accessibility to skiing? Is it a short commute to work? Is it things for your kids to do? Restaurants because you hate to cook? Where's the grocery store? These types of things are really important to think about before you get too locked into a location. If you said, I want a cute walkable downtown where I can do my errands on foot, I put my Keds on, I have my shopping bag over my shoulder, I want to walk around, get my exercise, pop in to little mom and pop stores and get things done that way, right? If that was what you wanted, I could tell you where to go. I'm going to tell you Kirkland. I'm going to tell you Edmonds. There's some places like that downtown Seattle, like the Pike Place Market, which you've probably seen on TV. It's a really popular tourist destination. There's a lot of fun shopping in West Seattle too. So thinking about that and putting those neighborhood components on your list is really important. I talked with a guy yesterday who lived way up north, past Everett, past Marysville. He was in Arlington, way north on I-5. And he said it was just his perfect piece of heaven. He saw eagles flying around every day. There was a downtown with a lot of women-owned businesses. They had live music festivals in the park during the summer. And he just felt like it was such a piece of Americana. He wanted to move. He wanted a different house, but he wanted to stay right in that neighborhood, in that community if he could, because he felt like it was so well grounded compared to other places that he had lived. So think about those lifestyle components. Is the high school important? Do your kids play football and they need to be where the good football teams are, right? Or maybe it's academics, or maybe you don't have kids and you want to meet other singles and be able to go to the theater or the symphony. So tell me when you call. So I'm a real estate agent. I don't know if I said that before, but if you'd like help relocating, this is what I really love to do, is kind of that matchmaking part of the game. So make a list not only of your dream house, but the features of the neighborhood that you think are most important to you. And let's dig in and do some due diligence to find out where we can get the best neighborhood features to go along with the house features. Okay, now we're starting with step 4, which is the step that most people think of right at the beginning. It's the cardinal rule of real estate. I don't know, golden rule. It's the number one thing, right? Location, location, location. So thinking about where you want to live is kind of a step, but I think some of these other steps come before it, because we need to know what you're looking for in the neighborhood, what kind of houses you want to live in, and what your budget is to really be able to determine what is the right location for you. If you say, I have a $400,000 budget and I don't want a condo, I only want to be in a single family house, well, that puts us probably down in the Tacoma area, or maybe up in Arlington, right? You're not going to be in the Seattle core in a single family house in that budget. But we can't just say, I want to be in Kirkland, until we know if you have the budget to be in Kirkland and if you're willing to have the type of house that is available in Kirkland, right? Does the neighborhood have the features that you want there in Kirkland? So I think kind of shaking down to the location is really a more of an end point from some of these discussions that we've had before. Now, looking at Seattle area, I'm going to pull up a map and we can talk through some of the pros and cons of these locations. I've done a lot more in-depth videos on many of the locations that we'll cover. If you hear a few that kind of perk your interest, look in my library for my other videos on, Edmonds, Bothell, Kirkland, Shoreline, Lake Forest Park, Renton, West Seattle. I have a lot in the library that you can go and look to as kind of part of your research here. So let's take a look at what's out there. Okay, so here's the map of Seattle, and you can see that part of this area is gray, and pretty much wherever it's gray, I would say, is a developed area where you can live. So focusing on the Seattle metro, where you could drive in and work on a daily basis in the Seattle area, I kind of think of it as a diamond, kind of going from up here in Everett down to downtown Seattle, and then kind of down here to the county line, Pierce County and King County end right about here by Federal Way. And then we go up to the east. This is Issaquah, kind of the Bellevue suburbs on the east side of Lake Washington, and then up here again to Everett. So those are the 4 corners of this diamond. Now, how it works is that Seattle and Bellevue are the 2 big cities. Seattle is bigger. Bellevue is coming right along behind Seattle. They're kind of like twin cities across the lake from each other. It's relatively easy to get back and forth. There's 2 bridges here. 520 is a toll bridge. You got to pay to play on that bridge, and I-90 is free. This comes into the south end of Seattle, and this comes into the north end of Seattle near the University of Washington. And over here is downtown Bellevue, right by 520. And then up to the north is Redmond, very popular because of Microsoft. So these kind of are the main downtown core where you're going to be commuting into for work for the most part. I mean, right, if you work at a grocery store, that could be anywhere. But if you work in a high-rise building, those are where the high-rise buildings are. So those are the main employment centers. We've got the light rail that pretty much follows I-5. It's currently, they're building as far north as Linwood. That should open around 2020. They have stops all along here, shuttling people into Seattle and shuttling people into SeaTac Airport. They're extending this out. Eventually, it'll go to Tacoma, it'll go east to Bellevue, it'll go up north to Everett. So they're trying to reduce our traffic burden and congestion with this light rail system. Besides the commute and the work factor, the other big factor that I always have to mention is that Seattle has a certain amount of lack of enforcement of its rules. Kind of in the name of social justice, they're very tolerant of things like homeless people wandering around, tent camping along the side of the road, free, safe shoot up areas to do drugs, and that type of a thing. So as you drive through Seattle, at least right now, a different mayor hopefully will start cleaning things up. But we're having a lot of those issues that you see in other West Coast cities, especially down in California. So a lot of people don't like that. That factor combined with COVID kind of emptied out our downtown quite a bit. And so we don't have as many employees downtown. It's a little bit fewer, which has really hurt the downtown condo market. And people who were once paying a premium to be in these destination luxury neighborhoods like Mercer Island right here and Medina right here, very expensive areas, the primary benefit of which was being on Lake Washington and having a good commute. Now those areas have gotten soft along with the condo market here in downtown Seattle. So that's a challenge. And the answer to that is living on the east side of the lake in Bellevue. Bellevue is a good case study, seems to have done a better job of enforcing its rules. You see a lot less of those problems that I mentioned on the Bellevue side. So for this reason, safer, cleaner, more comfortable in Bellevue, and also great schools in Bellevue. The Bellevue side of the lake, we call it the east side, has become much more attractive for people who want to move here. And as a result, the real estate there is 10 to 20% more expensive as well. So if you are looking at buying the best home you can in the best neighborhood you can, there's a lot to be said for looking on the east side of the lake. If you are priced out budget-wise, look on the west side, on the Seattle side, and just try to stay away to avoid the problems. Try to stay away from like main roads with a lot of buses. I always advise people to keep an eye on Highway 99. You see that little 99 flagged right here, also called Aurora Avenue. A lot of unsavory things happening along there. So the closer you get out to the water, the nicer it's typically going to be. And the closer you are to the center, where I-5 and Highway 99 are, any other main arterials like Lake City Way, the more that you're going to see those types of homeless people wandering around, mental illness, those types of things. That's just kind of a rule of thumb. And as you look through, this will kind of give you an orientation to where some of the areas are. The Seattle city limits only go to about here in the north. So beyond that, you're going to be in the Shoreline, Lake Forest Park area, which is known for pretty good schools and a lot of the problems that we see in Seattle not happening. So you can look at the north end of the lake, the south end of the lake. We have West Seattle has been very popular. It's kind of a beach town, relaxed, artsy vibe, lots of fun. But down in this area, we have a lot of manufacturing, airplane manufacturing, and SeaTac International Airport with jets flying overhead and that type of a thing. Renton has another Boeing center. So this has just been more of an industrial part of town historically. And so it's not as great coming just right south as it is going just up north here. So just things to keep in mind by the time you get down to Kent, Auburn, Federal Way, you're in a lot more of a semi-rural, you could buy an acre or two, you might see a horse here and there, that type of a thing. Issaquah has become very popular. This is a rapidly growing, newer city, built with a lot of older homes. It has a cute main street, older homes, like horse properties and things. You're kind of on the edge of the wilderness. You'll see bobcats, you'll see birds of prey, you'll see coyotes. So, some people do have farms and little animals. A lot of people are here because they like to hike and ski. And it's a quick little trip up here into the mountains. But this is kind of the edge. But if you like skiing and you got to work in Bellevue, this is a really good location. So just a brief overview on location. This is not an in-depth map interview. I want to keep it quick, but I did want to orient you to some of the highlights and kind of where you might find yourself looking geographically around the Seattle and Bellevue Center. So the next step is basically to find a real estate broker that you like and that you want to work with. It's very difficult being from out of the area to try to do everything by yourself, chances are you will need a real estate broker to help show you around, negotiate contracts, help you find a good property and a good price in real life, not just one that looks good online. One of the things that you need to do is make sure that you can trust your realtor to give you their honest opinion and not just sell you something. I've had several clients who have bought property kind of sight unseen through video or from coming from out of the area for just a couple of weekends. And so it's important that you give your realtor the opportunity to tell you what's bad about something. If you come in and say, I've decided on this, this is what I want, this is the only thing, then they might say, well, okay, that's it. I guess you're going to buy it. But if you let them know what's important to you, Emily, I'm really trusting you to help me find a good school district. Or Emily, my daughter is a very advanced ballerina and we need to be near a good dance studio. The last one I had was we're in a softer phase of the market right now, and we don't want to be overpaying for property. So we see a property, this is last weekend, see a property that we like, it's priced at $735. He said, hey, let's buy it. I said, before we buy it, let's run comps, is what we call them. We look at comparable sales, other similar homes that have sold in the neighborhood to see what values are here. And when I ran the comps, I found out that there were no homes that were like this that were selling for $735. And, in fact, it seemed like $675, 10% less, was closer to an accurate value of the property. So I actually called up the agent and said, where are you getting this price? And he said, my clients came up with the price. They wanted to get the most money that they could out of the house, so they chose to price it really high. And I told them that I would defend their property pricing strategy, but at the same time, it's hard to sell a property for more than it's worth. However, if an unscrupulous realtor had been involved, the buyer had an appraisal waiver. It didn't need to appraise. We could have said, great, come in, offer them $720, $735. You can get that closed. We could have been done. I could have been paid. It could have been over. But I don't want him to be looking back, a year or 2 or 5 from now and saying, boy, how did I pay so much? Everything around me is $650. Why did I pay almost $750 for my house? This just doesn't make sense. So think about that when you're looking for the right real estate agent. Think about what's important to you. I actually have an intake survey that I send people that says, what's your communication style? How can your real estate help you? Like, have you had any bad experiences with real estate agents in the past? Just trying to really identify your thoughts and communicate those to your real estate agent that make sure that you have a good experience and your expectations are met moving forward. That being said, yes, I'm a real estate agent. I would love to help you. So guys, I find that people that I meet through my videos are some of my very best clients. It's kind of like they know who I am. I don't have to cold call them and just sort of grab them off the street and put them in my car and start showing them homes. We've kind of met each other online in a way. So I just feel like we really resonate and have great rapport and have fun. One of my clients last summer was telling me, I feel like we're kind of trying to decide like how crazy and goofy and zany we can be together, or like whether we should be professional. I was like, oh, let's just have fun. So if you want to have fun and have, a reasonably intelligent professional person behind the scenes who is really watching out for you, I'd be happy to help. My website is HomeProAssociates.com, and you can reach out to me there. You can also call or text me at 206-578-3438. So thank you so much for watching this video. Again, check out my library. I've got a lot of other videos recorded on this and similar topics, so we can dive in as much as you want on the video. And when you're ready to talk, you don't have to be ready to buy, you don't have to be ready to move, but if you're not scared to pick up the phone and talk to me, I would love to have a call with you. We can do a video chat, or you can just text me a message or put something in the comments. So I look forward to meeting you soon. I hope if you decide to move to Seattle, we find you a house that you absolutely love, and that's what I'm here to do. So until then, I'll see you on the next video.